This week could be one of the most monumental or consequential weeks in AI in a long time. So, we're expecting some potentially huge news from Apple in regards to its AI plans. We have federal regulations into some of the largest companies in the world. And then we also have a potential Sora competitor from OpenAI that is better than OpenAI's Sora, and it's publicly available to some. All right, we're going to be talking about those things and a lot more today on Everyday AI. This is your AI news that matters for the week of June 10th. So, what's going on, y'all? My name is Jordan Wilson, and I'm the host in Everyday AI. It's for you. This is your daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter, helping us all keep up with what's going on in the world of generative AI. And it's actually more than just generative AI right now. It's actually how we all do business. AI is impacting us literally everywhere. So if you can't spend hours each and every day trying to scramble to see what's going on, this is the show for you, especially Mondays when we recap everything that's going on. So, as a reminder, if you're listening live, thank you for joining us. If you're on the podcast, as always, make sure to check out your show notes. So we'll have a way to subscribe to our free daily newsletter in there, as well as a little welcome gift for when you do subscribe. But also, reach out to me. My LinkedIn's in there, our email's in there, all that good stuff. So let's just get straight into it. Let's talk about all of these things that are going on in the world of AI news. So let's start at the top. Elon Musk is apparently diverting NVIDIA chips away from Tesla into some of his other companies. So, Elon Musk confirmed that he is reallocating thousands of NVIDIA's very powerful GPU AI chips from Tesla to his other ventures, such as XAI and X Corp. So, Musk did state that Tesla lacked the infrastructure to utilize the chips, which would have otherwise, he said, remained idle in a warehouse. So, this diversion has caused a lot of delays in setting up Tesla's supercomputers, potentially impacting its AI projects and also rekindling some shareholders' concerns about Musk's focus. So, the diverted chips are reportedly part of Musk's plan to build the world's largest supercomputer in Memphis, Tennessee, dubbed the Gigafactory of Compute. So, this Memphis supercomputer project is expected to be the largest multi-billion-dollar investment ever in Memphis's history, pending some local approval there. And the supercomputer is projected to open by the fall of 2025. Seems kind of aggressive to go from zero to opening in less than a year, but the initial phases of development are apparently going to be starting soon. So, more about these chips. So, Musk plans to acquire 100,000 total H100 GPUs from NVIDIA for XAI by the end of 2024, with some capacity coming online in June. Wild, right? So this project is seen as a significant economic catalyst for the region, with details on job creation and total capital investment still pending. So let's cut through all the news bullet points here. Here's what's happening. Well, reportedly, Elon Musk wants a little bit more board control at Tesla. And if you haven't listened to the Everyday AI show before, we kind of took you into a couple of weeks ago a little bit more on Elon Musk and Tesla in general, right? So, yes, Elon Musk did take Tesla from a relatively unknown to a global auto and AI superpower. However, no other US company has lost as much market value in the last 2.5, 3 years as Tesla has. So, reportedly, Elon Musk wants more board control at Tesla. And it seems like maybe this kind of yanking GPU chips away from Tesla and sending it to XAI might be kind of this backhanded signal to Tesla and saying, hey, I need more control here, or else you're not going to see these GPUs. So, pretty interesting move here. Reportedly, Elon Musk kind of borrowing some compute from one of his companies, which is the public company in Tesla, and handing it over to the private, kind of more startup side of his kind of global empire in the XAI platform. So, pretty interesting. All right. Next, speaking of interesting, NVIDIA briefly passed Apple and became the fastest company ever to add $1 trillion to its market cap. So let's talk. Yeah, we're getting stocks here, y'all. We're getting stocks here for Monday because this is pretty significant. So uh, NVIDIA briefly surpassed Apple, reaching a market cap of more than $3 million on Friday, becoming the second most valuable public company. However, Apple, they've been jostling back and forth since the market here opened Monday. But this milestone achieved by NVIDIA, which I literally haven't heard anyone else talk about. This was some original reporting by ourselves here at Everyday AI. But NVIDIA actually added $1 trillion in market capitalization faster than any US company ever has. So let's talk a little bit more about NVIDIA, its stock, and kind of what's going on because there's a lot. So NVIDIA's stock price surged last week, and it did close Friday at about $120 after a 10-for-1 stock split. So here's what that means because, yes, NVIDIA's stock was actually more than $1,200 come Friday, but they did a 10-for-1 stock split. So essentially what that means is it makes buying in shares for new investors much more affordable. So let's say, as an example, last week or last year, you had 10 stocks of NVIDIA. So now if you purchase them before the stock split, you will have 100. So each stock technically, is only worth 10% of its value previously. However, now if you were a shareholder before this stock split, you have 10 times the amount. So generally what this is made to do, it's to make investing in the stock much more affordable. So as NVIDIA's stock has more than tripled. Yes, that is not an exaggeration. It has more than tripled in the past year. So a lot of this came, and I mean, just NVIDIA's been crushing it, obviously, but so NVIDIA reported about $15 billion in net income on $26 billion in revenue last quarter. Geez, talking about the margins on that thing, highlighting some crazy strong profit margins. Also, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang announced plans for a new AI chip platform called Rubin to be unveiled in 2026, replacing the current Blackwell Pro platform, which Blackwell is only like 3 months old, y'all. I was literally at the NVIDIA GTC sitting on the floor when they announced the Blackwell platform. And now that's apparently, old news with this new Rubin kind of GPU system coming out. So let's talk a little bit more about this record breaking piece that no one's talking about. Literally, I haven't seen anyone else reporting on this. We did a little bit of original research here at Everyday AI. Hey, my background's a journalist. So I said, let's dig into this. Let's see this rate of growth from NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is, like we talked about, it is just the third American company to reach a $3 trillion market cap following Apple and Microsoft, who both accomplish the feat. And like I said, especially Apple and NVIDIA, for the next week, they're going to be going up and down, fighting back and forth for that number 2 position. Who knows? Maybe one of them will pass Microsoft at number 1. So very crazy kind of pedestal of, bronze, silver, and gold that we're probably going to see this week and maybe next as well with the top 3 most valuable companies here in the US. But I want to talk about this. Adding $1 trillion to a company's market capitalization or their market value is straight up nutty. This is more nutty than a bodybuilder's cupboard when he's on keto, right? So let's look at this here. Adding 1 trillion. So either going from 0 to 1 trillion, 1 trillion to 2, or 2 trillion to 3. Here's how long it took all of these companies that have done this before. So every single company that has added $1 trillion to its market cap. And here's how long it took. Ready? Apple, it took about 15 months. Amazon took about 10 months. Microsoft, just under 2 years. And then Google, or parent company Alphabet, same thing, about 22 months. NVIDIA, 37 days. Why is no one talking about this? NVIDIA literally added $1 trillion of market cap. So about, this was Friday. So, now it's been about 40 days, but in that 37-day period, they were at a $2 trillion market cap. 37 days later, $3 trillion. Y'all, This is straight astronomical, literally never seen before out of NVIDIA. So some pretty impressive. When we talk about AI news that matters, I mean, you can't go anywhere without talking about NVIDIA. All right. Speaking of things that really matter, let's talk about this. It seems like OpenAI's Sora has a legit competitor before Sora has even been released to the public. So, Chinese company Kuaishou has launched a text to video AI tool named Kling, and it is aimed at competing with OpenAI's Sora. So, Kling can generate 1080p HD video with realistic motions and physical properties. So, the tool is designed for content creators, marketers, and businesses looking to produce high quality video content pretty quickly. So Kling leverages advanced AI algorithms to create videos from just text prompts, similar to how generative AI models produce text or images. So, Kuaishou aims to position Kling as a leading tool in the AI video generation market, challenging established players like OpenAI. So, early feedback from Chinese users has been generally positive, with many praising the tool's ease of use and output quality. So, let's put this into perspective, y'all. So, let's just talk about AI video in general. So when we saw about 6 months ago, OpenAI previewed its new text to video AI generation platform, Sora. However, this has not been publicly available. So they've kind of restricted use for Sora to, some red teamers who are, putting it through safety checks, to some very high profile content creators, to some filmmakers, etc. We even reported on the show last week, Ashton Kutcher got early access to Sora. So presumably OpenAI over the last 6 months have been improving the model, hopefully making it safer for public use. Also, the cost of compute is going down, right? Like literally OpenAI is getting hand delivered GPU chips from NVIDIA, right? So OpenAI has kind of been not sitting on this Sora technology, but they've kind of been sitting on it, which I actually think is a good thing, because unlike text to photo and some other pieces, text to video, if it's done very well, people might not know it's fake, which is actually extremely problematic. So we talked about this on the show last week, kind of the concept of society in general understanding photoshopping, right? And kind of how Photoshop just became a verb, right? Or oh, that was photoshopped, or you're going to Photoshop this, right? So that means adding things that weren't there into an image. So I think as society kind of got used to this over 10, 20 years, right? And people can understand that something is photoshopped, right? It comes up all the time in court cases, right? Like, oh, this is photoshopped, right? And then people have to investigate if it was photoshopped. So now we are going to see something similar with AI video. However, if I'm being honest, I know this isn't Hot Take Tuesday. This is the news that matters this week, but I don't think society is ready for AI technology that is this good, this advanced. When we talk about OpenAI Sora and reportedly now this Kling. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at Kling. All right. And hey, if you are joining us on the live stream, double dipping today, let's go ahead and take a look. All right. So this is a prompt. And again, let me put this out there. I do not have access to Kling. People in the US do not have access to Kling. Right now, reportedly, it is only people who have a Chinese phone number. They have to verify that, and then they can access the Kling app. All right, so I'm putting that out there, and everything that I'm sharing, other people are sharing generations on Twitter and other platforms. So can't individually verify any of these, right? But they do have the kind of Kling watermark. So presumably these are probably from this new AI, video generator, which I think is going to be a competitor to Sora. So I'm going to go ahead and read these for our live stream audience. And if you are joining on the podcast, make sure to check out your show notes so you can go take a look at these as well. So this is from the user Angry Tom Tweets. So thanks, Angry Tom, for collecting some of these better Kling these cling generations. So let's read the prompt. So the prompt here on this one is a Chinese man sits at a table and eats noodles with chopsticks. All right, so let's just go ahead and play that and take a look at this. So there's no audio on this, but here this man is using chopsticks and eating noodles. All right. So let me just go ahead and say this. If you're if you're on the podcast, this is friggin' unbelievable. If this is real, right? Again, we haven't been able to verify this. Um, this is extremely impressive. And I know this might be kind of gross to watch if you are watching this, on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter. But I mean, I'm kind of scrubbing through and I'm slowing this down because the details on this are unbelievable. As in, I don't even know if I can believe this is real. I think it is, but I'm not sure. So again, you have this man, details impeccable, right? So he has his kind of sleeves rolled up. He's holding the chopsticks. I can't use chopsticks to save my life, but apparently this looks like great chopstick form. And then you have these noodles, individual noodles moving in their own direction, twirling as he puts them in his mouth. Wild. Puts them in his mouth, kind of slurps them up. I know, kind of gross if you're watching this live it's like, hey, chew with your mouth closed, AI generated video from Kling. And then he just kind of slurps up the noodle. It looks so real. I don't know if this is real. Apparently it is. All right, let's look at two other quick ones. So this next generation here, the prompt is traveling by train, viewing all sorts of landscapes through the window. Y'all, if you want to talk about the power of AI technology, you don't have to be, a prompt engineering expert. Apparently, very simple natural language prompt. And let's look at some of these generations. So this does look more of something that might come from an iPhone. I think on this one, as I'm looking at it frame by frame, I can tell this one is AI generated, probably because there's a lot going on. And it's almost like we're changing seasons. So there's a lot of very colorful foliage. It looks like some fall, colors. You have some bright oranges, and then we're going through, it looks like maybe a cornfield. I'm not sure. But this one, I think you can tell if you look at it slowly enough, there's some artifacts, and obviously it's changing seasons in real time, right? So we kind of go from fall here straight to a winter scene. But this one, if I'm being honest, I mean, unless you're looking at it very detailed, aside from the fact that it's changing, from fall to winter, and then I think later here it kind of changes more to a summer vibe here at the beach. I mean, aside from the changing of seasons and some slight artifacts, this also looks fairly real, right? It looks like something that someone took with their iPhone. It looks extremely impressive. All right. Let's just look at one last generation because it seemed like a lot of the previews that were being shared online had to do with animals, right? It's like, oh, here's a animal Grand Prix, right? When I look at these AI videos or even AI images, all of these things, I'm not looking at like fun, cute use cases. I'm looking at the potential for misuse, right? That's ultimately what I think is important, right? All of these, AI software, AI tools companies, these unicorns raising billions of dollars, they kind of hook you in with this cutesy marketing and like, oh, look at what this animal can do. But it's like, okay, what about potential for misuse, potential for disinformation, which I think is probably one of the reasons that OpenAI and Sora did not release their model before the election here in the US that we have coming up here in about 5 months. I'm hoping they don't release this, both Kling in the US or Sora in the US until after the election, because I think most people, this is going to fool, if I'm being honest, right? Which it's crazy to think about. Yeah, I'm going to go on a little side rant here. I know this is the AI news that matters, but this matters to talk about this. So, even if you think of like Midjourney, right? And think of, or Dolly 2 or the first versions of all these AI image generators, right? So Midjourney V2, V3, V4, right? They didn't look real. The text to image did not look real. Now with, 6.2, I think is what we're on, looks incredibly real. So to me, it's mind-boggling that the video technology is so quick. And right now, at least what we're seeing with Sora and what we're seeing with Kling is light years ahead of what's available to everyone else commercially in, outside of China, right? Which is Runway and Pika Labs. So if we're looking at these examples from Kling and the examples that we've seen shared from OpenAI Sora, they're light years ahead, right? So if we're talking about what's available to every single person in the world, aside from China, you can tell it doesn't look super real. This does. All right. So we're going to show this one last generation. Again, if you're on the podcast, make sure, number one, subscribe to our newsletter. But number two, we're going to be leaving the link so you can go check this out. So the prompt here, I'm just reading this verbatim. It is a Chinese boy wearing glasses enjoys a delicious cheeseburger with his eyes closed in a fast food restaurant. All right. So let's go ahead and watch this one. All right. So again, I know, sorry, live stream audience. This is kind of gross, right? Because we're just seeing food flying in and out of people's mouths. But I want to call out the details here. So again, here's this little boy, eating a cheeseburger in a fast food restaurant. So a couple things I want to call out. Because when we talk about AI, it is so important that we know what's real and what's not and its societal impacts, right? And as someone that talks about AI every single day, as someone that interviews people, as someone that reads about it, as someone that's used hundreds of AI tools just in this year alone, this to me is concerning because of how good it is, right? So we see this boy eating this cheeseburger, and it is wild, right? It's these these sesame seeds on top of the bun. They all move in unison. Nothing's wrong here. I'm scrubbing. This boy has a clean face. He chomps into this burger. The indent of the burger is exactly the shape and size of his mouth as he moves it away, right? His cheeks get full from presumably pushing the food into his cheeks. Spills some condiments on the side of his mouth. This is wild. I don't know, y'all. Is this real, right? People are sharing these generations. This is one of those things. And this is why I'm going on a little bit of a side tangent here on our AI News That Matters episode, because this matters. We have to think about it. We have to say, what are the implications when the rest of the world has this? Or is maybe this Kling software going to only live and stay for residents who live in China and can verify with the Chinese phone number? So we'll see. But regardless, it is equally exciting and extremely concerning at how good that is. So again, to recap, OpenAI's Sora, which is not publicly released yet, and this new one here from Kuaishou called Kling are leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else. Kling is reportedly not available to anyone unless you have a Chinese phone number, can verify that. But then it does appear to be publicly available. So again, this is just a couple days old. So we'll be hearing, I'm sure, more and more stories probably about how people are going to get fooled, as people start using this, because we got to talk about disinformation and misinformation with these tools, because I don't think 99.5% of society is going to be able to tell the difference. Again, I was looking at the details. You can always talk about like the fingers, right? The fingers here are impeccable, right? This kid eating the cheeseburger, all his fingers are there, right? So sometimes, in the early days, it's kind of funny. You had the Will Smith eating spaghetti, the infamous kind of like, oh, AI is not going to take our jobs. Look, Will Smith has 9 fingers and 3 arms, and the spaghetti is turning into his hair. This is not it. This kid, his fingers, there's, his wrinkles around the knuckles. Like, it is concerning how good this is, if I'm being honest. All right. So let's keep going with more AI news that matters. So our next piece of AI news. Some big tech AI companies are reportedly in some big trouble, or maybe potential trouble. We'll see if it amounts to anything. So the DOJ and the FTC, so the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission here in the US, are investigating potential antitrust violations by Microsoft, OpenAI, and NVIDIA. Again, this is according to reports, and these are just potential violations. However, let's talk about what's going on here. So the DOJ will lead the inquiry into NVIDIA, while the FTC will scrutinize Microsoft and OpenAI's practices. So investigations are going to focus on market dominance, data collection practices, and potential unfair advantages in the AI sector. So the FTC is particularly interested in Microsoft's $13 billion investment in OpenAI and its implications for competition. On top of that OpenAI partnership for Microsoft, you also have the FTC pretty looking into Microsoft's $650 million deal with Inflection AI for potential antitrust violations, as Microsoft's kind of acqui-hire or acquisition, whatever you want to say, included hiring key Inflection AI personnel and gaining technology rights. So reportedly, it was kind of a way to side skirt. Microsoft essentially just created a new branch of its company and brought in just some of the key players and key technology from Inflection AI, which was probably a top 5, maybe top 7 kind of player in the large language model and generative AI game before they hired them. I'm not even sure if it was an acquisition, a hiring, not sure. I guess that's why the federal regulators are investigating. So the FTC's Microsoft investigation on that end will focus on whether the deal was structured to avoid mandatory antitrust review. So yeah, at a certain level, the government has to get involved to make sure that everything is on the up and up. And then on the other side with NVIDIA, NVIDIA's dominant position in the AI chip manufacturing has caught the attention of the Department of Justice, with NVIDIA reportedly controlling more than 80% of the market share, which is wild when you have so many companies investing billions and billions of dollars and no one can catch or touch or even get close to NVIDIA. So regulators are concerned about the potential monopolization of the AI industry by a few dominant firms. The FTC has been investigating OpenAI's data collection practices since 2023, aiming to determine if the company has caused harm and disseminated false information. Hey, my 2 cents, this isn't Hot Take Tuesday. This is the news recap, but I don't know. Is it Microsoft and OpenAI and NVIDIA's fault that they were so far ahead of everyone else and their competitors aren't doing the best job? I don't know. I mean, the amount of money that Anthropic has raised in the Anthropic Claude, it's good, right? It's not great. It's the same thing. Google's original technology led to the transformers, which led to GPT technology. And Google is so far behind with its Gemini large language model, if I'm being honest, right? So I don't know. And with NVIDIA, right? You literally have their competitors teaming up against them, joining forces for different initiatives to try to catch NVIDIA. So, there's been some famous stories from NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang about he was just literally a half decade ahead of everyone else when it came to recognizing and prioritizing the generative AI technology boom. Sure, some of it, people will point to, NVIDIA was already a leader, in the gaming. So their GPUs, some people point to, Bitcoin mining. So NVIDIA kind of already had a lead in GPUs, but, as generative AI came along, NVIDIA had just so much head start, and they had so much early investment into the generative AI technology through their GPU chips that it's like, I don't know. Hey, as a casual outside, I wouldn't say I'm not well informed. I'm fairly well informed, but I don't know. Is it their fault? Is it Microsoft's fault that they were smart and invested in OpenAI early on? I don't know. I personally don't see anything really coming out of this aside from maybe some large fines. But I don't really see anything, in terms of official, sanctions. I don't see anything. I see, some fines maybe at most, but hey, we'll see. That's why I don't, make the news. I just report on it afterwards. All right. Our next piece of AI news that matters. Cisco has a $1 billion investment in AI during their conference, and they're aiming to enhance their AI capabilities and infrastructure. So Cisco introduced its new Cisco Nexus Oh gosh, this is a mouthful. Let's try it again. Cisco Nexus Hyper Fabric AI clusters developed in collaboration with NVIDIA. That's a lot of words there. So, despite the significant investments from Cisco and their new public product announcements, their stock did not see significant gains, right? That's what people are always looking at. Big AI announcement. What happens to their stock? So, analysts have cited some skepticism about Cisco's AI strategy and its impact on the company's core business as the reasons for the market's lukewarm reaction. So Cisco is, though, aiming to position itself as an AI leader in networking solutions, targeting training, targeting data centers and enterprise customers. So we'll see if that pays off in the long run. Obviously, smart to partner up with NVIDIA, right? If you can't beat them, join them and hitch your wagon to the leading horse, the one that are almost like creating the generative AI technology, creating the software for it and everything, right? Yeah. NVIDIA's got a stranglehold on the industry. All right. Speaking of companies that don't have a stranglehold on the industry, Apple. We're going to be hearing some announcements. So we saved maybe our biggest piece of news for last, and kind of how we started off the show. This, in theory, could be one of the biggest announcements in decades. So, Apple is set to unveil its new AI features here in hours with its what it's calling Apple Intelligence. So they have their worldwide developer conference, so WWDC, starting here in a couple of hours. So it starts today, June 10th, and it goes through June 14th. But this is largely going to be highlighted by the much reported on potential partnership between OpenAI and their new GPT-4o model and Apple to bring smarter AI to Apple's hardware and software. Primarily, we're talking about hopefully a smarter Siri and smarter kind of different applications within Apple's OS ecosystem. So yeah, y'all, I don't know if maybe it's just me. Whenever I use like an Alexa or a Siri or something like that, I end up just banging my head. I literally turn into that face palm emoji every single time. Like my like I was in the car with my wife last night. And she had to try like 5 or 6 times to get Siri to set like an alarm for something simple. So I think a lot of just the public at large is really waiting, right? And the tech industry has also been sitting around and waiting at Apple. Like y'all been sitting on the sidelines here for years, and let's call it for what it is. Apple's behind, which has always been part of their strategy, right? Apple's never the first. There's always a joke that, Apple features that they announce are just whatever ends up working for, Android or Microsoft or, Google features, etc. So, hey, Apple is more than a year behind for many of their competitors. If I'm being honest, I think a lot of people were probably expecting Apple last year at their WWDC conference to announce something on the generative AI side, but we haven't heard anything. So all we've heard in the past year is just different reporting on what Apple's actually working on. So there were some early reports that Apple was spending millions, this is last year, millions of dollars a day developing its own internal large language model that some people were calling Ajax, some people were calling, Apple GPT. But Apple did release via a research paper some finding on its own model, and it actually looked pretty good, right? For those dorks like myself who read all of these large language model research papers. Yet, in the coming months, it looked like Apple wasn't even going to be using its own large language model that it previewed. So apparently it wasn't ready for the big time. So, over the last kind of 6 months, or at least up until May of 2024, you heard all these back and forth reports, so it started with, Apple's going to be using its own model that they've spent millions of dollars a day to develop, to, nope, they're going to be with OpenAI. And then they said, nope, they're going to be working with Google's Gemini model. And then they said, nope, it's going to be Anthropic's Claude. So the reporting has been, flip-flopping more than a bunch of frat boys at the beach in the summer. However, what it looks like now is, and what it's looked like for a month is, we will undoubtedly be seeing an OpenAI partnership announced in mere hours. So, yeah, even if you're listening to this on the podcast, sorry, we try to bring this live to you every single day, but there's a chance it could already be announced. So, we'll be updating our website, don't worry. And our newsletter today will actually focus on the announcement. So, we're going to wait a little bit, but presumably, we are going to see an open AI partnership. So, what OpenAI announced last month at their spring event with the GPT-4o for Omni model that really just it's seemingly some incredibly interactive, natural language, low latency. So, what we really wanted from Siri and Alexa many years ago, but to really be able to actually understand what you're saying, to respond back quickly, but to use your data. Right. So that's the key here and what Apple is shooting for. Again, Google has already announced this with their Project Astra, but it is not live. So we'll see what the actual timeline is. But if Apple follows their normal schedule, it will likely be released in September in their new iOS or Mac OS update. So we'll see if this is just coming out to iPhones. We'll see if this is just coming out to MacBook computers, but presumably it's going to be coming out to hundreds of millions of devices. So it should be interesting to see how Apple handles this. Maybe this is why they were waiting so long, because to go from zero generative AI features built in right on MacBooks, iPhones, iPads, etc., to potentially rolling it out to hundreds of millions of devices, that's a lot. So who knows? Maybe they've been doing a lot of kind of resource allocation work on the back end preparing for this. But, presumably we're going to see hundreds of millions of devices get generative AI features and functionality. So initial reporting has said that Apple is going to use kind of a hybrid approach between edge AI, which is kind of on-device computing. So I don't believe that all of these features are going to be available. So if you have an older iPhone, like, I don't know, an iPhone 7 or 10 or 12, you might not have capabilities to all of these features. It seems like kind of the ability to run edge AI or on-device AI is going to, require a certain kind of chip, right? So Apple has their own silicone chips, the M1, M2, M3, etc. So it's probably going to require a certain level of chip to do some of this on device. But reports are saying that Apple is going to do like this hybrid approach. So some of the AI is going to happen on device on some of the newer models, and some of it's going to happen in the cloud. So some of the new AI features that people are talking about is kind of, it might be a slimmed down version of maybe what we've seen in Copilot and kind of Android operating systems and the Google phone. So some AI, generative AI and large language model integrations across different apps, which I think is going to be something probably noteworthy, right? So if you can talk to Siri and, she might be able to grab information from both your mail and your Safari and your text messages and be able to interact with it. So other reporting is showing that you will be able to interact with this new smart Siri inside of apps, which should be pretty noteworthy, as well as, just kind of these generative AI features that we've had in so many other systems. So being able to use large language models to create content inside of Pages, which is their Word doc, inside of Keynote, which is their PowerPoint, Xcode, their coding platform. So really just bringing these generative AI large language models features that the world has been using for the last 2 years. So Apple finally reportedly catching up again. We're going to have more in our newsletter with the updates. In tomorrow's show, we're going to be reflecting on all of that. So some pretty exciting announcements expected in mere hours from Apple at WWDC. And again, make sure to go to youreverydayai.com to sign up for that free daily newsletter. We will be recapping. Yeah, you might be listening to this on the podcast. It might be old news, but we're going to have the update in our newsletter. So real quick, let's do a recap of the AI news that matters for June 10th, for the week of June 10th. So Elon Musk reportedly in diverting NVIDIA chips meant for Tesla to his other kind of companies, XAI, for this new gigafactory of compute. Also, Elon reportedly flexing his muscles and wanting a little more control, reportedly at Tesla. So saying, nope, these GPU chips are not going to Tesla. They're going away from the public company and they're going to go to the private XAI. Then we have NVIDIA briefly passing Apple to become the second most valuable company by market cap. That's going to be changing literally on probably an hourly basis, especially with Apple's announcement. And also, they became the fastest company ever to add $1 trillion in additional market cap here in the United States. Some original reporting from Everyday AI here. Then we saw a new AI video model in Kuaishou's Kling. So the Chinese company Kuaishou released their Kling AI video generator, which is really going to, it looks like, be a direct competitor to OpenAI Sora, which is not publicly available. So this new Kling, we showed some examples. Make sure to check out the newsletter. We'll link to them. But so just light years ahead of all the publicly available AI video tools, such as Pika Labs and Runway. Next, we have the DOJ in the FTC here in the US investigating Microsoft, OpenAI, and NVIDIA, basically saying, do you have too much power? Do we have monopolies going on here? So federal regulators investigating there. Then we have Cisco's $1 billion AI investments at their conference that they announced, as well as a new partnership with NVIDIA. However, for whatever reason, analysts were not super impressed and their stock did not shoot up. Speaking of stock shooting up, our last piece of AI news, you got to keep an eye on Apple today. In a matter of hours, we're going to be hearing on this new quote unquote Apple intelligence. Yes, Apple is trying to change what AI even means. Artificial intelligence? No, Apple is saying it's Apple intelligence. So we've been waiting for years to see what Apple is announcing in terms of its AI. So we will hear today, June 10th, 2024 at their WWDC conference, which goes for the next 4 days. But what is largely expected to grab all the headlines is Apple's partnership announcement with OpenAI's GPT-4o technology and how they're going to integrate this large language model, generative AI, on-device edge AI across its potentially hundreds of millions of devices that might get access to that. All right, that is it, y'all. I hope this was helpful. If so, let someone know. Repost this if you're listening on social media. We appreciate your support. If you're on the podcast, make sure to check out the show notes. We'd super appreciate you leaving us a review on Spotify or Apple. If you find this helpful, we do this every single Monday, bringing you the AI news that matters. And then we have shows the rest of the week. So if you are brand new here, great to have you along. Check your show notes, reach out, always put my personal LinkedIn and an email. Please reach out. Let us know what you're working on, or if you need help on the generative AI side. And please go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for that free daily newsletter, and we'll see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.